The Great Hall of the Galactic Council stretched across 3 city blocks on Kepler Prime. 5 different species sat around the massive circular table, each group keeping to their own section. The air filters worked hard to keep the atmosphere breathable for everyone, mixing gases that would kill some species if they breathed pure versions. Ambassador Zethkar stood up from the Vorthan section. His gray skin looked almost silver under the bright lights. The battle scars across his face told everyone he had fought in the border wars 20 years ago. He wore the dark blue uniform of the Vorthan Empire, with enough medals to show his rank but not so many as to look foolish. "Council members," Zethkar said in his deep voice, "today we must discuss the Sol Sector exploration request that keeps coming up every few months." The Thessian Council speaker, Myrthala, looked up from her datapad. Her pale blue skin seemed to glow slightly, which happened when Thessians felt annoyed. "Ambassador, we have already voted on this matter 12 times. The Sol Sector is empty space. Dead rocks, floating around a dying star. There is nothing there worth our time or money." Dr. Velton from the Nexari delegation tapped his long fingers on the table. The sound made a clicking noise that echoed in the big room. His large black eyes looked at each council member in turn. "Speaker Myrthala is correct. I have studied every piece of data from that region. The only things we find are old metal scraps and broken machinery. Nothing that suggests advanced life ever lived there." Zethkar remained standing. He pulled out a small device and activated the holographic display in the center of the table. Images appeared in the air, showing chunks of metal, strange symbols carved into rock, and the ruins of what might have once been buildings. "These are not random scraps," Zethkar said. "Look at the metal composition. Look at the way these structures were built. My people have stories about the beings who made these things. Stories that go back 3,000 years. A Kalani trader named Bextor laughed. His orange fur rippled as he shook his head. The sound came out like a series of barks. "Stories, Ambassador? We are supposed to make decisions based on bedtime tales?" The Aetheri representative, mind speaker Yil Andra, had been quiet until now. When she finally spoke, her voice seemed to come from inside everyone's head rather than through the air. "The stories persist across multiple cultures. Even my people have legends of the Terrans." Zethkar nodded and changed the holographic display. New images appeared, showing artwork from different alien cultures. Each picture showed similar beings, tall, with smooth skin, standing on 2 legs, with hair on their heads, and strange round eyes. "Every major civilization has these legends," Zethkar continued. "The Void Walkers, the Star Wanderers, the Endless Fighters, all describing the same species. They called themselves humans, or Terrans." Dr. Velton stood up quickly, his chair scraping against the floor. "Ambassador, with respect, shared mythology does not equal historical fact. These beings you describe are physically impossible. According to the legends, they could survive in environments that would kill any known species. They could eat almost anything. They could adapt to new planets in just a few generations. Such creatures cannot exist. And yet," Zethkar said, "the evidence suggests they did exist. The metal we find in the Sol Sector contains alloys we cannot reproduce. The construction methods show an understanding of engineering that we are only beginning to match. Someone built these things." Myrthala sighed and her blue skin dimmed slightly. "Even if these Terrans were real, which I doubt, they are clearly extinct. The Sol Sector has been silent for over 2,000 years. No signals, no movement, no signs of life. Whatever was there is gone now." The holographic display changed again, showing a star map of the local galaxy. Red dots marked the territories of each major species. A small yellow circle showed the Sol Sector, sitting alone at the edge of known space. "The legends say they were different from us," Zethkar continued. "They did not build great empires like we do. They spread out in small groups, always moving, always exploring. They bonded with each other in ways we do not understand. When one was threatened, they all would fight. Bextor barked another laugh. More fantasy stories. No species acts that way. Individuals look out for themselves first. Groups look out for their own people second. Nobody risks everything for strangers. Mind speaker Yilandra leaned forward in her seat. Her large eyes seemed to look through everyone rather than at them. The Aethery records speak of a species that could not be read telepathically. Their minds were closed to us. Because they probably never existed, Dr. Velton said firmly. I have spent 15 years studying the archaeological evidence from the Sol sector. Every piece of supposed Terran technology can be explained as the work of a failed Kelani colony. The timeline matches. The materials match. The construction methods match what the Kelani used 2 millennia ago. Several Kelani delegates started talking at once, their barking voices rising in volume. Bextor had to bang his fist on the table to get them quiet again. Dr. Velton, my people's records show no colony ships sent to the Sol sector during that time period. Records can be lost. The Nexari scientist replied smoothly. Especially records of failed colonies. No government likes to keep detailed files about their mistakes. Zethkar looked around the table at each delegation. Council members, I am not asking you to believe in myths and legends. I am asking you to consider the possibility that we do not know everything about our galaxy's history. The Sol sector holds answers to questions we have not even thought to ask yet. And I am asking you to look at facts instead of stories, Doctor. Velton shot back. We have limited resources for exploration. Every ship we send to empty space is a ship we cannot send to find real opportunities for trade, diplomacy, or scientific advancement. Speaker Myrthala raised her hand for silence. The room grew quiet as she spoke. This council has already voted on Sol sector exploration funding 12 times. Each time, the proposal has been rejected by a clear majority. The evidence for these mythical Terrans remains unconvincing. The evidence for any extinct civilization in that region remains unconvincing, Dr. Velton added. Failed Kelani colony or not. Zethkar looked down at his notes, then back up at the council. Very well. But I want it on the record that the Vorthan Empire believes we are making a mistake. History will judge whether we missed the most important discovery in galactic history because we were too afraid of old stories. Let the record show, Speaker Myrthala said formally, that Ambassador Zethkar has made his objection clear. Now, does anyone wish to call for another vote on Sol sector exploration? Nobody raised their hand. The various delegates looked at each other, but no one spoke. Then this matter is closed, Myrthala announced. The Sol sector will remain classified as low priority for resource allocation. Dr. Velton, please prepare a final report explaining why no further archaeological investigation is needed in that region. The Nexari scientist nodded and made notes on his datapad. I will have the report ready by next week. Speaker, it will recommend that the Sol sector be officially classified as explored and catalogued, with no intelligent life signs present or probable. As the council members began to pack up their materials and prepare to leave, Zethkar remained standing at his place. He stared at the holographic display, which still showed the star map with the small yellow circle marking the Sol sector. Mind speaker Yilandra approached him as the other delegates filed out of the chamber. Ambassador, why does this matter so much to you? Even if these humans existed, they are gone now. Zethkar turned off the holographic display and looked at the Aetheri representative. Because, Mind speaker, the legends say that the Terrans never truly disappeared. They say that somewhere out in the void, beyond the edge of our maps, the humans are still out there, still exploring, still surviving. And if that is true, and if they do, Yilandra asked, then we will learn whether they remember us as friends, Zethkar said quietly, or as the people who forgot they ever existed. Senior Communications Officer Lisa Grant rubbed her eyes and looked at the display screen again. She had been on duty for 6 hours at Deep Space Monitoring Station Omega-7, and the endless stream of routine communications traffic was starting to blur together. Merchant ships reporting their positions, military patrols checking in, research vessels sending data back to their home worlds. All normal, everyday signals that crossed the galaxy every day. But this signal was different. Lisa leaned forward in her chair and adjusted the receiver settings. The signal was coming from the galactic core, a region that nobody traveled to because the radiation levels would fry most ship systems in minutes. More strange was the signal's pattern. It repeated every 47 minutes and 33 seconds. Exactly. Computer, run signal analysis on channel 779, Lisa said. The computer's voice responded immediately. Signal contains mathematical sequences, star chart coordinates, and unidentified linguistic patterns. Origin point: Galactic Core Region. Approximately 27,000 light-years from this station. Lisa sat back in her chair. 27,000 light-years meant the signal had been traveling for 27,000 years. Whatever sent it was incredibly old, or incredibly powerful, or both. She opened a communication channel to the USS Meridian, an exploration vessel that was currently 2 days away from her position. USS Meridian. This is Deep Space Station Omega-7. Please respond. Captain Jake Morrison answered within seconds. His voice sounded tired but alert. Omega-7. This is Captain Morrison. What can we do for you? Officer Grant. Captain, I have an unusual signal that needs investigation. It's coming from the galactic core and contains information I think you need to see. There was a pause before Morrison responded. The galactic core? Lisa. Nothing can survive in that region long enough to send signals. I know, sir. That's what makes it so interesting. 2 hours later, Captain Morrison stood in the communications center of the USS Meridian, studying the data that Lisa Grant had transmitted. Next to him, Dr. Kevin Walsh, the ship's expert on alien languages, was running the linguistic patterns through every database they had. Captain, Dr. Walsh said, looking up from his workstation. This is remarkable. The mathematical sequences are based on prime numbers, which suggests intelligence. The star charts show stellar positions that match our current galaxy maps, but the language patterns are unlike anything in our databases. Morrison frowned. Could it be from an unknown alien species? Possible, but there's something else. Some of the linguistic structures match patterns I've seen in very old Vorthan texts. Specifically, texts that describe ancient legends and myths. What kind of myths? Morrison asked. Dr. Walsh pulled up another screen showing Vorthan writing alongside the mysterious signal patterns. Myths about a species called Terrans, or humans. According to Vorthan legends, they were supposed to be incredibly adaptable and resourceful. Morrison felt something cold move through his chest. Doctor, are you saying this signal might be from humans? I'm saying it's a possibility we need to consider, Dr. Walsh replied carefully. At that moment, the ship's communication officer, Lieutenant Bob Turner, called out from his station. Captain, I'm receiving a priority message from Fleet Admiral Patricia Blake. Morrison walked over to Turner's station. Put it through to my ready room. Dr. Walsh, you come with me. In the captain's ready room, Admiral Blake's image appeared on the main screen. She was a woman in her 60s, with gray hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. Behind her, Morrison could see the busy command center of Earth's orbital defense station. Captain Morrison, Admiral Blake said without preamble, we've been monitoring unusual energy signatures in deep space. Our long-range sensors are picking up massive objects moving through hyperspace toward the Outer Rim territories. We need you to investigate. Being, Admiral, Morrison said. We just received a signal that might be related to this. Dr. Walsh believes it could be from humans. Admiral Blake leaned forward in her chair. Explain. Dr. Walsh stepped into view of the camera. Admiral, The signal contains linguistic patterns that match ancient alien descriptions of humans. It's been broadcasting from the galactic core for thousands of years. Thousands of years, Admiral Blake repeated slowly. Doctor, humans have only had interstellar travel for 3 centuries. How could there be a signal that old? I don't know, Admiral. But if there are humans out there that we've lost contact with, they might be trying to find their way home. A.T. Crease. Admiral Blake was quiet for a long moment, then nodded. Captain Morrison, change course for the energy signatures our sensors detected. If there are humans out there, we need to find them before anyone else does. 3 days later, on the edge of Vorthan space, Military Commander Torgon stood in the command center of the battlecruiser Wrath of Kepler. His scarred face showed no emotion as he studied the sensor readings that his officers had brought to his attention. Commander, said his aide, Lieutenant Kexran, the energy signatures do not match any known technology in our databases. The ships, if that's what they are massive. Each one appears to be larger than our biggest battleships. Torgon examined the data more closely. How many ships are we tracking? At least 50, sir, possibly more. They're maintaining tight formation and moving at high speed toward the outer rim. The outer rim, Torgon mused. That's where the old legends place the mythical Terrans. Lieutenant Kexran looked confused. Sir? I thought the Council determined that Terrans never existed. Torgon turned to face his aide. The Council determined that based on the opinion of one Nexari scientist who never served in combat. I have read the old military reports. Kexran, there are too many similar descriptions across too many different cultures for Terrans to be completely fictional. What are your orders, Commander? Torgon thought for a moment. Alert the Galactic Council. Tell them we have detected unidentified ships moving toward previously unexplored regions of space. Do not mention the Terran connection until we have more information. Should we intercept the unknown ships, sir? No, Torgon said firmly. If these are the legendary Terrans returning, we do not want our first meeting to be a hostile one. The old stories say they were peaceful when treated with respect, but utterly ruthless when threatened. Meanwhile, aboard the UNS Defiance, Admiral Samuel Carter studied the star charts, showing their approach to the outer edge of known galactic civilization. He was a tall man in his 50s, with dark skin and calm eyes that had seen more battles than he cared to remember. Admiral, said his navigation officer, Commander Lisa Wright, we're approaching the boundary of what the aliens call civilized space. Should we slow our approach? Maintain current speed, Commander. We've been planning this moment for 300 years. It's time the galaxy learned that humans never disappeared. Dr. Rachel Torres, the fleet's chief scientist, looked up from her analysis station. Admiral, the alien communication networks are extremely active right now. They're definitely aware of our presence. What are they saying? Admiral Carter asked. It's hard to translate everything, but they seem confused and concerned. They keep using words that translate roughly to impossible and mythical. I think they thought we were extinct. Admiral Carter smiled grimly. Dr. Torres, patch me through to the entire fleet. A moment later, his voice was transmitted to all 57 ships of the Terran Deep Space Reconnaissance Fleet. Attention all ships. This is Admiral Carter. For 3 centuries, humanity has survived in isolation after losing contact with Earth. We have built our own civilization in the void between the stars. We have faced dangers that would destroy most species, and we have thrived. He paused, looking at the star charts, showing alien territories ahead of them. Today, we return to the galaxy that forgot we existed. We come in peace, but we come as equals. Remember that we represent not just ourselves, but every human who died to bring us this far. Make them proud. Back on the USS Meridian, Captain Morrison received new orders from Admiral Blake. Captain, our deep space sensors have confirmed it. Those energy signatures belong to human ships, 57 vessels, all of unknown design, approaching from deep space. Dr. Walsh looked up from his translation work. Captain, I've made progress on the signal from the galactic core. It's definitely human in origin. It appears to be an automated beacon, left behind by early human explorers who got stranded in the core region thousands of years ago. Thousands of years? Morrison asked. Doctor, that's impossible. Humans have only been in space for 3 centuries. Unless, Dr. Walsh said quietly, there were humans in space long before we thought there were. Captain, what if the legends the aliens tell about Terrans are actually true? What if humans have been out there all along, and we're the ones who lost contact with them? Morrison felt the pieces clicking together in his mind. The signal from the core. The approaching fleet. The alien legends about mythical Terrans, who could survive anything and never gave up. Dr. Walsh, he said, I think we're about to meet our own relatives. On Kepler Prime, Ambassador Zethkar stood in his private office, staring out the window at the busy traffic of alien ships moving through the planet's orbital lanes. His communication device chimed, indicating an urgent message from the Vorthan fleet. The message was brief but stunning. Unknown ships confirmed approaching outer rim. Technology unknown. Numbers: 57 vessels. Recommend immediate council session. Zethkar sat down heavily in his chair. 57 ships. The exact number mentioned in the oldest Terran legends. He opened his personal files and found the stories his grandfather had told him as a child. Stories about the day the Star Wanderers would return from the void, bringing knowledge and power beyond imagination. He activated his communication device and sent a message to Council Speaker Murthala. Speaker, request emergency council session. The Terrans are coming home. Whoa. See. The emergency session of the Galactic Council was called to order in record time. Council Speaker Murthala stood at the center of the Great Hall, her blue skin flickering with anxiety. Around the circular table, representatives from all 5 major species talked in hushed voices, creating a buzz of different languages and sounds. Council members, Murthala announced, we have confirmed reports of 57 unknown vessels approaching our space. The ships are massive. Their technology is unfamiliar, and their intentions are unknown. Captain Rex Elan of the Thessian Diplomatic Corps stood from his seat. He was younger than most council members, but his experience in first contact situations had earned him respect across the galaxy. Speaker, I volunteer to lead the contact mission. My ship, the Star Bridge, is equipped with universal translators and peaceful approach protocols. Dr. Veltan was still shaking his head in disbelief. This cannot be happening. There are no unknown species with technology advanced enough to build 57 ships that size. Our surveys have mapped every inhabited system within 1,000 light years. Ambassador Zethkar stood slowly, his scarred face grim. Unless, Doctor, we are about to meet the species your reports declared extinct. He activated the holographic display, showing the energy signatures detected by Vorthan sensors. The ship configurations match ancient Terran vessel designs described in our oldest military records. Impossible, Dr. Veltan insisted. Even if Terrans existed, which they did not, they could not have survived for 3,000 years without our knowledge. Mind Speaker Yil Andra raised her hand for attention. Council members, my people have attempted to scan the approaching ships telepathically. The results are disturbing. We can detect life signs aboard the vessels, but their minds are closed to us. We cannot read their thoughts or intentions. Bex Tor, the Kalani trade representative, barked a laugh. Captain Rex Elan pulled up star charts on his datapad. Regardless of who they are, we need to establish communication before they reach inhabited systems. I propose we meet them at the beacon station in the neutral zone. Agreed, Murthala said. Captain Rex Elan, you will lead a diplomatic team consisting of representatives from each species. Dr. Veltan, you will analyze any technology they are willing to share. Ambassador Zethkar, your knowledge of the ancient legends may prove useful. And if they prove hostile? Bextor asked. Then we will have Captain Rex Elon's diplomatic skills to thank for the warning, Zethkar replied grimly. 2 days later, the diplomatic vessel Starbridge hung motionless in space near Beacon Station Omega. The station was a small outpost, designed for meetings between different species in neutral territory. Captain Rex Elon stood on the bridge of his ship, watching long-range sensors track the approaching human fleet. Captain, his sensor officer reported, the unknown ships have dropped out of hyperspace. They're holding position approximately 1 million kilometers from the station. Any communication attempts? Yes, sir. They're broadcasting on multiple frequencies. The computer is working on translation. Dr. Velton looked up from his analysis station. Captain, I'm detecting energy readings from their ships that should be impossible. Their power output suggests fusion reactors operating at efficiency levels we have never achieved. Ambassador Zethkar studied the tactical display. The formation they're maintaining is defensive, but not aggressive. They're protecting their larger ships while keeping their smaller vessels in forward positions. The translation computer has isolated their main communication frequency, the sensor officer announced. They're requesting permission to send a small delegation to the beacon station. Captain Rex Elon nodded. Send our reply. Tell them we agree to meet on the station with a small group from each side. Aboard the UNS Defiance, Admiral Samuel Carter reviewed the final briefings before the historic meeting. Around the conference table sat his most trusted officers. Dr. Rachel Torres, Captain Amy Chen of the scout ship Explorer, and Commander Luke Davis, their military historian. Remember, Admiral Carter said, these species think we're mythical. They've spent thousands of years telling stories about humans, but they never expected to actually meet us. This first impression will shape human-alien relations for centuries. Dr. Torres pulled up her analysis of alien communications. Admiral, I've been studying their signal traffic. These aren't primitive civilizations. They have advanced technology, complex political systems, and they've been spacefaring for much longer than we have. Captain Amy Chen leaned forward. Sir, what if they see us as a threat? Our ships are larger than anything in their databases, and we appeared out of nowhere. Then we show them that humans come in peace, Admiral Carter replied. Captain Chen, you'll lead our delegation. Your experience with first contact protocols will be essential. Dr. Torres, document everything. Commander Davis, analyze their military capabilities, but keep it subtle. And if they demand to know where we've been for 3,000 years? Commander Davis asked. Admiral Carter looked out at the stars visible through the ship's viewports. Then we tell them the truth. Humans never disappeared. We were simply out here, surviving and growing stronger, while they forgot we existed. The first meeting took place in the main conference room of Beacon Station Omega. The room was designed to accommodate different atmospheric requirements, with individual environmental zones for each species. When the human delegation walked in, the silence that followed was complete. Captain Amy Chen wore the blue and gray uniform of the Terran colonial fleet. She was tall and confident, with short brown hair and steady brown eyes. Behind her walked Dr. Rachel Torres and Commander Luke Davis, both looking alert but calm. Captain Rex Elon was the first to recover from his shock. His pale blue skin had gone almost white, and his hands trembled slightly as he stood up. I am Captain Rex Elon of the Thessian Diplomatic Corps. On behalf of the Galactic Council, I welcome you to this meeting. Thank you, Captain, Amy Chen replied in clear, unaccented Galactic Standard. I am Captain Amy Chen of the United Nations Ship Explorer. We appreciate your willingness to meet with us. The fact that she spoke perfect Galactic Standard sent another shock through the alien delegates. Ambassador Zethkar leaned forward in his chair. Captain Chen, how long have your people been observing our communications? Long enough to learn your languages and understand your cultures. Chen replied diplomatically. We believe in being prepared for important meetings. Dr. Velton had been scanning the humans with a handheld device since they entered the room. Captain Chen, my readings indicate that you and your companions are operating in an atmosphere that would be lethal to most civilized species. The radiation levels alone should have killed you within minutes of leaving your ship. Dr. Torres smiled slightly. Doctor, humans evolved on a planet with higher radiation levels than most inhabited worlds. What you consider lethal, we consider normal background radiation. Impossible, Dr. Velton muttered, checking his scanner again. Commander Davis looked around the table at each alien representative. If I may ask, which of your species first developed the legends about humans? All of us, Zethkar answered. The stories appear in the oldest records of every major civilization. Tales of beings who could survive anywhere, adapt to anything, and who never abandoned their own people. And you thought these were myths? Amy Chen asked. We thought they had to be, Captain Rex Elon said. Dr. Torres activated a small device that projected holographic images into the air above the table. Perhaps this will help explain. The images showed human settlements on worlds with extreme conditions. Arctic ice planets, desert worlds with temperatures that would melt most metals, and space stations orbiting unstable stars. These are human colonies, Dr. Torres explained. We have learned to survive in environments that other species consider uninhabitable. Not because we're better than you, but because we had to adapt or die. Mind speaker Yil Andra spoke for the first time since the meeting began. Your minds are still closed to telepathic contact. This was mentioned in the oldest Aethery legends. How is this possible? Amy Chen considered her answer carefully. We're not sure. Human brains seem to be naturally resistant to telepathic intrusion. We've always assumed it was an evolutionary defense mechanism. Bex Tor, who had been quiet throughout the meeting, finally spoke up. Captain Chen, where have your people been for the past 3,000 years? Why are you returning now? We never left, Chen replied simply. Humans have been in this galaxy the entire time. We've been exploring, surviving, and building our civilization in the regions beyond your territory. We're returning because it's time to rejoin the galactic community. But our records show no contact with humans for millennia, Dr. Velton protested. Commander Davis leaned back in his chair. Doctor, your records show what you were able to observe. Humans learned long ago to avoid unnecessary conflicts. We stayed in regions that other species considered too dangerous or unprofitable to explore. The void between the spiral arms, Zethkar said suddenly. The regions we avoid because of radiation, storms, and gravitational anomalies. Those regions aren't uninhabitable if you know how to navigate them properly, Dr. Torres confirmed. They became our home when we lost contact with the inner galaxy. Captain Rex Elon looked around the table at his fellow aliens, then back at the humans. Captain Chen, what do your people want from us? Amy Chen was quiet for a moment before answering. We want what every species wants, Captain. A place in the galaxy where we can exist in peace, trade with other civilizations, and share knowledge for the benefit of everyone. And if we refuse? Bex Tor asked bluntly. Chen's expression didn't change, but something cold flickered in her eyes. Then we'll continue to exist in the void regions, as we have for centuries. But we hope that won't be necessary. The galaxy is large enough for all of us. Dr. Velton was still studying his scanner readings. Captain Chen, your ship's technology appears to be based on fusion power systems, but the efficiency levels are beyond our current capabilities. How did you achieve such advancement? 300 years of isolation teaches you to make the most of limited resources, Chen replied. When you can't trade for better technology, you have to invent it yourself. Ambassador Zethkar stood up slowly. Captain Chen, I have one final question. The legends say that humans never truly fight alone, that when one human is threatened, others will come to their aid regardless of the cost. Is this true? Amy Chen looked directly into Zethkar's scarred face. Ambassador, there are 56 other human ships waiting just outside this system. Every one of them would risk everything to protect the three of us sitting at this table. Yes, the legends are true. The silence that followed lasted for a full minute before Captain Rexilon spoke again. Captain Chen, I believe we have much to discuss. The diplomatic station had been expanded with temporary modules to accommodate extended negotiations between humans and the Galactic Council. 3 weeks had passed since first contact, and both sides were still learning about each other. The main conference room had become a place of constant meetings, with different groups of experts sharing information and trying to understand 3,000 years of separate development. Commander Luke Davis stood before a mixed audience of human and alien military officers. His presentation focused on human military history, but what he was really explaining was why humans had survived alone in the galaxy for so long. The key event was the Great Solar Storm of 2157, Davis explained as holographic images showed the devastating electromagnetic pulses that had swept through Earth's solar system. The storm destroyed our early FTL communication networks and left our outer colonies completely isolated from Earth and from each other. Captain Rex Elan raised his hand. Commander, how did isolated human colonies survive without support from their home world? They adapted, Davis replied simply. When you can't call for help, you learn to solve problems yourself. When you can't import food, you learn to grow it anywhere. When your equipment breaks down and there are no replacement parts, you learn to build new equipment from whatever materials you can find. Dr. Velton was taking detailed notes. But, Commander, isolated colonies should have failed within a few generations. The technological base required for spacefaring civilization is too complex for small populations to maintain. Davis smiled grimly. Doctor, you're thinking like someone who has always had access to galactic trade networks and established supply lines. Humans learned to do things differently. We built technology that could be maintained and repaired with basic materials. We designed systems that could function for decades without replacement parts. Most importantly, we shared knowledge freely between colonies. Admiral Samuel Carter, who had been observing the discussion, stepped forward. Dr. Velton, perhaps a demonstration would be more useful than explanations. The next day, a joint exercise was arranged in a nearby asteroid field. The Thessian vessel Starbridge would navigate the field using standard galactic navigation techniques, while the human ship Explorer would demonstrate human methods. Colonel Maria Santos piloted the Explorer through the asteroid field, while alien observers watched in amazement, where the Thessian ship had to carefully calculate safe routes and move slowly to avoid collisions. Santos simply threaded her ship between the asteroids, as if she had been born in space. How is she doing that? Captain Rex Elan asked Dr. Torres, who was serving as the human observer on the Starbridge. Centuries of asteroid mining and debris field navigation, Torres explained. When you live in the void between stars, you learn to operate in environments like this. Maria has been flying in asteroid fields since she was 16 years old. On the communication channel, they could hear Santos talking to her crew in the casual tone that humans used for routine operations. Asteroid cluster ahead, about 2 clicks wide. Lisa, adjust power to the port thrusters. Bob, keep an eye on that spinning rock at Mark 7. It's moving faster than the others. Dr. Velton monitored the energy readings from the human ship. Dr. Torres, their power consumption during these maneuvers is 40% lower than what our ships require for the same operations. How is this possible? Human technology was designed for efficiency because we couldn't afford to waste energy, Torres replied. When every joule of power has to be generated from hydrogen you collect from space, you learn to make your systems very efficient. The exercise concluded with both ships safely navigating the asteroid field, but the human ship had done it in half the time while using less fuel. The alien observers were quiet as they returned to the diplomatic station. That evening, in the station's main meeting room, the truth about human isolation began to emerge more clearly. Commander Davis had prepared a detailed timeline of human development over the past 3 centuries. After the solar storm cut off communication with Earth, the outer colonies had to make a choice. Davis explained. They could try to maintain the same technological civilization they had known, which would have required resources they didn't have, or they could adapt to their new circumstances. Ambassador Zethkar studied the timeline displays. Commander, according to this data, humans developed faster than light travel independently from galactic civilization. That's correct, we had to. The colony ships that survived the solar storm were scattered across dozens of star systems. The only way to reunite humanity was to develop our own FTL technology. Dr. Torres added more detail. Human FTL drives work differently from yours. They're less efficient for long-distance travel, but they can operate in the high-radiation environments that exist in the void regions. This let us travel through areas of space that other species avoid. Mind speaker Yil Andra had been trying unsuccessfully to read human thoughts throughout the negotiations. Dr. Torres. Why are human minds resistant to telepathic contact? This ability is mentioned in legends that are thousands of years old. We're not sure, Torres admitted. Our best theory is that humans evolved a natural defense against telepathic intrusion. It might be related to our pack bonding instincts. Pack bonding? Captain Rex Elan asked. Commander Davis answered. Humans form extremely strong emotional connections with other humans, especially those in their immediate group or family unit. These bonds are so strong that humans will risk their lives to protect people they care about, even when logic suggests they should save themselves. Bextor shook his head in confusion. That behavior pattern makes no evolutionary sense. Individuals who sacrifice themselves for others should be eliminated by natural selection. Unless the survival of the group is more important than the survival of any individual, Davis replied. Human communities that worked together and protected each other survived. Communities where individuals only looked out for themselves failed. Dr. Velton was reviewing data from the asteroid field exercise. Commander, I've analyzed the performance of your ship during today's demonstration. Your crew coordination levels are beyond anything we've seen. How do you achieve such precise teamwork? Colonel Santos, who had joined the evening meeting, answered. Doctor, we train together constantly. Every member of my crew has served with me for at least 5 years. We know how each other thinks and reacts. When Lisa adjusts the thrusters, I don't need to tell her what I'm planning because she already knows. But how is such coordination possible without telepathic communication? Mind speaker Yilandra asked. Practice and trust, Santos replied simply. When your life depends on your crewmates doing their jobs perfectly, you learn to work together very well. The conversation was interrupted by an urgent communication from the Galactic Council chambers on Kepler Prime. Speaker Murthala appeared on the main display, and her agitated blue skin flickered rapidly. Captain Rex Elan, Murthala said, we have received reports of political unrest on several Vorthen worlds. Military Commander Torgon is demanding an immediate military assessment of human capabilities. The Kalani Trade Federation is asking for exclusive trading rights with human colonies. The Nexari Science Council wants access to human technology, and the Etheri Collective is requesting permission to study human telepathic resistance. Captain Rex Elan looked around the room at the humans and aliens present. Speaker, I recommend that we proceed slowly with all requests until we have established proper diplomatic protocols. Admiral Carter stood up. Speaker Murthala, perhaps it would be helpful if I explained the human position on these matters. Please proceed, Admiral, Murthala replied. First, humans are willing to share our technology with all galactic species, not just those who offer the best trade deals. Second, we will defend ourselves if threatened, but we have no interest in conquest or dominance. Third, we want to join the galactic community as equals, not as subjects or as rulers. Dr. Velton leaned forward in his chair. Admiral, your technology appears to be more advanced than ours in several areas. Why would you share it freely? Because, Doctor, isolation taught us that knowledge belongs to everyone who can use it to improve life for their people. When you're struggling to survive in the void, you share what works and learn from what doesn't. Ambassador Zethkar had been quiet during most of the discussion, but now he spoke up. Admiral Carter, there is something I must ask. The old legends say that humans have the ability to adapt to almost any environment. Is this true? Admiral Carter nodded to Dr. Torres, who activated a new set of holographic displays. Ambassador, these are human settlements established over the past 3 centuries. The images showed human communities thriving on worlds that should have been uninhabitable. Ice worlds, where the surface temperature never rose above freezing. Desert planets, where the daytime temperature could melt lead. Space stations orbiting neutron stars where the radiation levels would kill most organic life in seconds. How is this possible? Dr. Velton whispered. Genetic adaptation, technological innovation, and stubbornness. Dr. Torres replied. Humans refuse to accept that any environment was completely uninhabitable. If we couldn't survive naturally, we modified ourselves. If our technology wasn't sufficient, we invented better technology. Commander Davis brought up additional displays showing human military actions over the centuries. We also learned to fight in environments where other species wouldn't even attempt to operate. When your colony is on a planet with surface temperatures of 300 degrees, you learn to conduct military operations in extreme heat. The room fell silent as the aliens absorbed the implications of what they were learning. These humans weren't just survivors. They were a species that had been shaped by 3 centuries of isolation into something that could thrive anywhere in the galaxy. Finally, Mind Speaker Yil Andra spoke. Admiral Carter, what do humans want from the galaxy now that you have returned? Admiral Carter looked around the room at each alien representative. We want what we've always wanted, Mind Speaker. A place to call home, friends to stand with, and the chance to build something better than what existed before. And if the galaxy isn't ready to accept humans as equals, Ambassador Zethkar asked. Admiral Carter's expression remained calm, but something hard flickered in his eyes. Then we'll continue to build our civilization in the void regions, as we have for 3 centuries, but we hope it won't come to that. The galaxy is better when all species work together. As the meeting concluded and the various delegates prepared to return to their quarters, Zethkar approached Admiral Carter privately. Admiral, the Vorthan said quietly, there are some in my government who view humanity as a threat to the established order. They fear that human adaptability and independence will upset the balance of power in the galaxy. Carter nodded understanding. Ambassador, humans have no interest in upsetting anyone's balance of power. We simply want to exist in peace and contribute to galactic civilization. I believe you, Admiral. But others may not. The humans of legend were described as peaceful when treated with respect, but utterly ruthless when threatened. Is this accurate? 1. The servant won. I won far. Admiral Carter looked out through the station's viewport at the stars beyond. Ambassador, humans learned a long time ago that sometimes the only way to ensure peace is to be prepared for war. We hope diplomacy will solve any problems that arise. But if someone threatens human colonies or human lives, we will respond appropriately. And what would an appropriate response look like? Zethkar asked. Carter turned back to face the Vorthan ambassador. Ambassador, let's hope we never have to find out. 6 months after first contact, Lieutenant Commander Alex Wright stood in the Galactic Council chambers as the newest human ambassador. The great hall that had once seemed so intimidating now felt almost familiar. He wore the formal diplomatic uniform of the Terran colonial fleet, dark blue with silver trim that caught the light as he moved. Council members, Wright began his address. I stand before you today, not as a representative of some mythical species from ancient legends, but as a voice for the very real human civilization that has grown and thrived in the void regions of our galaxy. Speaker Mirthala nodded from her position at the center of the council table. Her blue skin had returned to its normal shade, no longer flickering with the anxiety that had marked the early days of human contact. Ambassador Wright, The Council recognizes the Terran Colonial Federation as a legitimate interstellar government. We are prepared to discuss formal membership in the Galactic Council. Dr. Veltan, who had spent the past 6 months studying human technology, looked up from his datapad. Ambassador, my analysis of human fusion reactor designs has led to a 15% improvement in our own power generation systems. The Nexari Science Council formally requests expanded technical exchange programs. Dr. Veltan. Wright replied. Humanity is pleased to share our knowledge with all species willing to do the same. We believe that technological advancement benefits everyone. In the Vorthan section of the Council chamber, Ambassador Zethkar watched the proceedings with satisfaction. His recommendation to treat humans as allies, rather than threats, had proven wise. The joint military exercises over the past months had shown that human tactical abilities complemented Vorthan's strategic planning remarkably well. Meanwhile, on the edge of human space, Captain Jake Morrison's ship USS Meridian was escorting a Kalani trade convoy through a region that alien ships had never visited before. The convoy consisted of 12 Kalani vessels loaded with luxury goods, rare metals, and advanced manufacturing equipment that humans needed for expanding their colonial infrastructure. Captain Morrison, said Bex Tor over the communication channel, this trade route will reduce travel time to human colonies by 40%. The Kalani Trade Federation is very pleased with this arrangement. Morrison smiled as he watched the alien ships navigate through the debris field that surrounded a dead star system. What seemed like treacherous space to the Kalani was just another routine navigation challenge to human crews. Bex Tor, this is only the beginning. Human space contains dozens of routes that could benefit galactic trade. On Morrison's bridge, Communications Officer Lisa Grant was monitoring multiple channels as reports came in from human colonies throughout the void regions. Captain, Colony Base 7 reports successful completion of their atmospheric processor exchange with the Thessian terraforming team. Colony Base 12 says the Aetheri mental health specialists have made remarkable progress in treating isolation syndrome among long-term space crews. Dr. Kevin Walsh looked up from his translation work. Captain, I've finished analyzing the cultural exchange reports. It seems that every alien species has found something valuable in human civilization, and humans are learning just as much from alien cultures. The integration wasn't happening without challenges. On the research station jointly operated by humans and aliens at the edge of the galactic rim, tensions had been building between different approaches to scientific investigation. Dr. Rachel Torres stood in the main laboratory, trying to mediate a dispute between human and Nexari researchers. Dr. Veltan, I understand that standard Nexari protocols require extensive safety testing before attempting any new procedures. But sometimes human intuition and willingness to take calculated risks leads to breakthroughs that pure logic might miss. Dr. Torres, Veltan replied. Your human researchers are brilliant, but their willingness to experiment with potentially dangerous technologies makes my people very nervous. And your people's insistence on testing every possible failure scenario before taking action makes human researchers impatient, Torres responded. But together, we're making discoveries that neither species could achieve alone. The conversation was interrupted by cultural analyst Keth Mora, an Aetheri who had been assigned to study human society. Her large eyes reflected genuine curiosity as she observed the interaction between human and alien scientists. Dr. Torres, Keth Mora said, I have been analyzing human social patterns for several months now. Your species forms collaborative relationships more quickly than any other known civilization. How do you achieve such rapid trust building? Torres considered the question. Keth Mora, humans learned during our isolation that survival often depends on working with others effectively. We developed social skills that let us form strong working relationships quickly, because we had to. The discussion was interrupted by an emergency alert that echoed through the station. All three scientists hurried to the main command center, where Captain Nathan Price was coordinating the station's response to an unprecedented threat. Report, Dr. Torres said as she entered the command center. Captain Price turned from the tactical display. We're tracking multiple unknown contacts approaching from beyond the galactic rim. Energy signatures suggest advanced technology, but not from any known species. The main display showed the approaching contacts, a fleet of geometric ships that moved in perfect formation and showed no response to communication attempts. Long-range sensors indicated they were heading directly for the Joint Research Station. "Captain," said Sergeant Dana Foster from her position at the tactical station, "those ships are actively scanning our facility. Their sensor beams are penetrating our shields and analyzing our technology." Dr. Velton was running analysis on the unknown ships. "Captain Price, these vessels appear to be automated. I'm detecting no life signs aboard any of them. Their technology base is completely unknown to galactic science." Captain Price opened a communication channel to Admiral Carter aboard the UNS Defiance, which was 3 days away at maximum speed. "Admiral, we have a situation that requires immediate assistance." Admiral Carter's voice came through clearly despite the distance. "Captain, I'm receiving your tactical data now. Those ships match theoretical descriptions of Devourer technology from our ancient databases." "Devourers?" Dr. Torres asked. "Machine intelligences from beyond the galactic rim," Carter explained. "We lost contact with several human colonies to similar attacks over a century ago. They appear to be investigating our joint research station. The first Devourer ship reached weapons range and immediately opened fire without warning. The station's shields held against the initial assault, but energy readings showed they wouldn't last long against sustained bombardment. "All hands to emergency stations," Captain Price announced over the station's communication system. "This is not a drill. We are under attack by unknown, hostile forces." Sergeant Foster coordinated the station's defenses while engineer Carl Murphy worked to boost shield power using human and alien technology in combination. "Captain, the aliens' shield harmonics are compatible with our power systems. I can route additional energy through the Nexari shield generators." "Do it," Price ordered. Dr. Torres was working with the alien scientists to analyze the attacking ships. "Captain, the Devourers are learning our defensive patterns. Each attack wave is more effective than the last." "Then we change our patterns," Price replied. He activated the station-wide communication system. "All human and alien personnel. This is Captain Price. We face an enemy that adapts to standard tactics. We need creative solutions, and we need them now." The response was immediate. Human engineers began implementing rapid modifications to alien systems, while alien scientists provided theoretical knowledge that humans turned into practical applications. Kethmora used her telepathic abilities to coordinate between team leaders who spoke different languages, while Dr. Velton's analysis guided targeting solutions for weapons systems. Sergeant Foster called out from her station, "Captain, Engineering Team 3 has jury-rigged a feedback pulse using human fusion reactors and Thessian sensor arrays. Carl says it might disrupt the Devourer's adaptive programming." "Try it," Price ordered. Engineer Murphy's voice came over the communication channel from the power plant. "Feedback pulse ready, Captain. Fair warning. This is completely untested technology. It might disable our own systems along with theirs. Murphy, how confident are you in the theory?" "Confident enough to bet the station on it, sir." Price looked around the command center at the mixed human and alien crew working together to save their lives. "All hands. Brace for feedback. Pulse." The pulse erupted from the station's main array, sending energy cascades through the attacking Devourer ships. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then, one by one, the geometric vessels stopped their attack and began drifting aimlessly through space. "Target ships are showing no energy signatures," Foster reported. "Whatever that pulse did, it shut them down completely." Dr. Velton was analyzing sensor data from the disabled Devourers. "Captain, the pulse appears to have disrupted their central processing networks. However, I'm detecting additional Devourer forces approaching from deeper space." "How many?" Price asked. "At least 50 ships, Captain. Much larger than the ones we just faced." Before anyone could respond, Admiral Carter's voice came through the communication channel. "Captain Price, this is Admiral Carter. The Terran fleet has arrived, along with Galactic Council reinforcements. We're moving to intercept the approaching Devourers." The joint battle that followed became legendary in both human and alien military history. Human ships used their superior maneuverability and adaptive tactics, while alien vessels provided heavy firepower and sophisticated sensor networks. The combination of human innovation and alien technology proved devastating to the Devourer fleet. Captain Morrison, commanding the USS Meridian alongside Vorthan battleships, demonstrated the pack-bonding loyalty that aliens had read about in ancient legends. When the Vorthan ship Pride of Kepler suffered critical damage, Morrison immediately moved his ship between the damaged vessel and attacking Devourers, taking heavy fire to protect alien lives. The battle ended with the complete destruction of the Devourer fleet. But the real victory was what happened afterward. As human and alien crews worked together to rescue survivors and repair damaged ships, the last barriers between the species finally fell. 3 months later, Lieutenant Commander Wright stood once again in the Galactic Council chambers. But this time, he wasn't seeking membership. He was being inducted as the first human representative to the Council. "Ambassador Wright," Speaker Marthala announced, "the Galactic Council unanimously votes to grant full membership to the Terran Colonial Federation. Welcome to the galactic community." Wright looked around the chamber at representatives from species that had once thought humans were mythical. "Speaker Marthala, members of the Council, humanity accepts this membership with honor, and with the promise that we will work alongside all species for the benefit of galactic civilization." Ambassador Zethkar stood and raised his glass in the traditional Vorthan salute. "To the humans, who taught us that the best legends are the ones that turn out to be true." Mind Speaker Yilandra added her voice to the celebration. "To humanity, who showed us that closed minds can still open their hearts to friendship." Dr. Veltan, who had become one of humanity's strongest advocates, smiled as he spoke. "To our human colleagues, who proved that the most impossible stories sometimes make the most sense." Bextor barked his distinctive laugh. "To human traders, who showed us routes through space we never knew existed." As the celebration continued, Admiral Carter stood on the observation deck of the UNS Defiance, looking out at the traffic patterns around Kepler Prime. Human ships now moved freely among alien vessels, carrying diplomats, scientists, traders, and tourists between species that had once existed in isolation. Captain Amy Chen joined him at the viewing port. "Admiral, do you think our ancestors could have imagined this day when they first lost contact with Earth?" Carter watched a human transport ship dock with an alien space station. "Captain, I think they would be proud that we never gave up hope of coming home to the stars." Dr. Torres approached with the latest reports from joint human-alien research projects. "Admiral, the cultural exchange programs are exceeding all expectations. Human adaptability combined with alien knowledge is leading to advances in every field of science." "And militarily?" Carter asked. "The Devourers haven't been seen since the battle at the research station," Torres replied. "But if they return, they'll face a galaxy where humans and aliens fight as one." Admiral Carter nodded and looked back out at the stars. "Dr. Torres, for 3 centuries, humans survived in the void by relying on each other. Now we have 5 species worth relying on. I think the galaxy just became a much safer place." In the months that followed, human colonies throughout the void regions became centers of interspecies cooperation. The trade routes that humans had pioneered became major galactic highways. The survival techniques that humans had developed saved alien expeditions in dangerous regions of space. Most importantly, the human values of loyalty, adaptability, and never abandoning your people became part of galactic culture. The legends had spoken of a species that could survive anywhere and never gave up on their own. The reality turned out to be even better. Humans were a species that could help everyone else survive and thrive as well. As Ambassador Wright often said in his speeches to the Galactic Council, humanity was never really lost in the void. We were just waiting for the right time to come home and bring our friends with us. The galaxy had spent 3,000 years telling stories about the mythical Terrans. Now they had a lifetime to discover what humans could really accomplish when they weren't alone in the dark.